What's up everyone, the veto has been played and this week we have two power of vetoes in the house, sending the house into shockwaves. Who is going to be the target and who's going to leave the house? It really is anyone's game. We've got so much to talk about, so welcome to your live feed update. Okay folks, so let's jump right into the veto results. So yes, it was the world famous, renowned Big Brother competition, OTEV, and it sounds like it was like Arnold Schwarzenegger as OTEV, like in that style of voice thing anyway, so this should be an entertaining one when it comes around on Wednesday night. But anyway, we have two power of vetoes this week. So the people who had their BB books, however many they had, they could bet on who they thought was going to win. So it would work out as if, say if two people bet on the same person, but one person had more BB books, essentially the person who put the more BB books on would then win the veto if that person they bet on did win the veto. So, you know, it's not that complex. It sounds complex, but it's not. But anyway, what we need to know is that Alyssa did win OTEV, so she has won the first power of veto. Kyland was the only person to bet on Alyssa to win the power of veto, so he also has a power of veto, leaving two power of vetoes in play this week in the Big Brother house, which is obviously going to be crazy because already this week, Kyland's shown that he hasn't shown a distinct target that he wants out, so it's kind of, you know, it's been the catalyst that's kind of got things moving. And the cogs have started rolling now as to who should be sent out of the house this week. So, of course, next what we've got to talk about is who is actually the target this week and who is likely going to be leaving the Big Brother house. Okay, so obviously we discussed the idea yesterday of Alyssa being a potential backdoor plan, but Kyland chucked that out the window. And now, you know, with her winning the veto, she cannot go on the damn block. So that's already out the window there. So, flashback to yesterday. Nominees, we've got Claire and Big D on the block. Kyland has already promised Claire that he is going to use the veto on her. Y'all know I'm happy about that. So she is obviously going to come off the block unless something crazy happens where Kyland goes back on his word. So she's going to come off the block, leaving not many people to put up. So outside of the cookout, obviously because Big D's on there already, so you can't put another member of the cookout on the block because that would send a member of the cookout home. The slim pickings on who you can actually put up there. So, one, we've got Sarah Beth. Is Kyland going to put up Sarah Beth? Hell no, there is no chance that Kyland is going to put up Sarah Beth. He's shown all week. A lot of the house do want Sarah Beth to be the person to go up, but there's no way Kyland's going to cave in and do that. He wants somebody else to be the person to take the shot at Sarah Beth, and he wants that to be Xavier, I believe, should he win head of household next week. So there's two people left outside the cookout that Kyland can actually put up. It's Brittany or Derek X, and it's almost guaranteed that whoever goes up will go home because the cookout, I've got the numbers now. There you go, folks. There's 5 of them that aren't on the... Oh, wait, no. Hang on. There's 4. So it'll at least be a tie, and then Kyland will break the tie. So, yeah, we'll see how that one happens. But anyway, it's going to be Brittany or Derek X. So I think a chunk of the house are trying to persuade him to take the hit at Derek X because obviously he's the comp beast. But then it seems like Kyland is more fixated on Brittany being the target, which is, you know, it sucks. I like Brittany, but for me, I'd rather Brittany go home than Claire. I do think Brittany's fantastic, though. But the weird poetic thing about this is the fact that Brittany's been the pawn week after week after week after week. And then the time that she's not even on the block in the first place is likely the time she's going to go home. Definitely something poetic about that, and not necessarily in a good way. But I've seen a lot of people on social media screaming that Kyland has kind of wasted his head of household by taking Brittany out. Yes, obviously a lot of us want Derek X to stay, but that would be the more logical game move. When he has the numbers, he could literally take the biggest comp beast left in the house out of the equation. But I think he's going to go for the Brittany route. With Big D and Azza being in the cookout, they obviously know about this plan. And Brittany, this is the tough thing, because Brittany was kind of upset that she feels Big D's kind of gave up at the fact he's on the block. She thinks he could be in danger, which obviously we know isn't the case because the cookout, as we say, have the numbers of the 4 that will send it to a tie. In the worst case scenario, which isn't going to happen because at least one of the other 4 that aren't in the cookout are going to vote alongside that. Derek X and Hannah, even if Derek X isn't on the block, they're not going to vote apart. I would say Claire will vote alongside Tiffany. Sarah Beth will do what Kyland wants. It just, you know, it adds up. And obviously Alyssa will probably just vote with the numbers. That's kind of how it's going to work. So anyway, Brittany's kind of coaching Big D, kind of saying, you know, don't give up. It's a tough thing because Big D even knows that Brittany's the one in danger, not him. So this is what I mean though, folks. Brittany's a good soul. She really is. She's a good soul. You can tell she's a really nice person. Really kind of kind intentions. Really just nice and wholesome intentions. And I've got nothing but respect for Brittany, and I mean that. Quite an entertaining moment in the day from Big D. I'm going to put the picture up on screen of what he looked like whilst he was doing this. He had the Alyssa card over his face and was doing an impression of Alyssa and said the following. Christian, I miss you so much. I can't sleep or eat without you. I miss our long cuddles together, just being brother and sister. Being without you is so hard. I'm so sad I can't put my hand underneath your shirt. The words of Alyssa, not me. Actually, technically the words of Big D, but I'll tell you what, folks. Whilst Big D isn't playing the best game, I think he's so funny. I just think he's really, really entertaining. And listen, once again, I think it's brilliant when he goes to cast his vote every single week and says the wrong thing. Just entertainment for Big D. I saw a lot of people yesterday going, oh, how did Big D get the 100 bucks, 100 BB bucks? And it's because, whilst we who watch the feeds aren't that impressed by Big D's gameplay, not so much anyway, that's probably why we won't vote it. But there's a hell of a lot of people who watch Big Brother that don't watch the feeds at all. So they just see the entertaining Big D on the show. So then they vote for Big D to get the BB bucks. That's how it works. That's who's viewing the show, and people watch it in different ways. Obviously, we see everything, or nearly everything when the feeds aren't actually down. But the casual watchers, they see not as much as we do. So that explains it. But I'll tell you what, as I said, I stand by what I said. Big D, he's very entertaining. Derek X, Sarah Beth and Carland were in the head of household at one point, head of household room, and they formed an alliance called the Flop Alliance. I get it. I see the intentions of why they should do it. Yes, it's going to benefit Sarah Beth and Derek X as far as the cookout goes until they get picked off. But Kyland, I get it. He's probably just covering angles just in case one of the cookout wasn't to win next week, head of household. So, but if that happens in a case where the cookout continues to win back-to-back comps, then Carland is going to be in a position where he has to take out Sarah Beth and he has to take out Derek X, so it would probably damage his jury management. Probably not the best thing for him to go into, but it's one of those cases of, let's form an alliance. You can't be that says no, so you've kind of just got to go along with it, so it's totally understandable there. But meanwhile, Hannah was telling Tiffany that she doesn't like Carland when he's in a position of power. I've seen a lot of the comparisons on Twitter of, treating it like Carland's the president and it's like his first term compared to his second term. People were saying his first term was a huge success, which it was. I praised it yesterday. I said, look, he put himself into one of the prime positions in the house. And then over the weeks that kind of deteriorated, and I was thinking, okay, he's got head of household again. He might be able to get himself back into a better position. But I don't think that's the case. I think he's because he's been so all over the place with Claire's the target, Alyssa's going to be the backdoor plan, Brittany's the target, Big D's going on the block. Big D's not going on the block. It's kind of just nothing's been straightforward, so he hasn't been able to gain ground that he needs to. So yes, if this was comparing it to presidential terms, I would say that second term has definitely been less of a success than the first. Big D went to visit Carland up in the HOH room at one point, and he was trying to campaign to get Derek X on the block. Yes, it's probably the biggest move he can make. I feel like Carland's kind of scared to do that. The only person who's proven they haven't so far, obviously, some people are yet to win head of household and they may make that big move that they need to, but Derek X showed last week he needs to get done what needs to get done, and he did it, and he took Christian out the comp beast. Kyland has this, and I don't want Derek X to go this week. I really like him, but as you know, when I deliver these live feed updates, I like to be very impartial, and I like to say basically, I like to praise anybody who does good gameplay, and I like to praise or say what the best move is, in my opinion, for someone. And Derek X is one of my favourites, but from a Carland standpoint, he has this opportunity right now to take Derek X out. He can put Derek X up on the block and send him out the door, but instead he's sending Brittany out. I think it'll be quite sweet justice, or poetic justice next week if Derek X swoops in and takes Carland out. I don't think that'll happen. I do think Derek X will be taking the shot at Xavier next week if he wins head of household. But again, if Xavier goes, then I feel like it's going to be a blow to Carland and he'll regret not taking him out. Just like Christian said, oh, I should have put him up on the block next week. Learn from your predecessors' mistakes, Carland, and take Derek X out while you have the chance, because do you know what? Nobody will be comforting you next week. None of the viewers will anyway, when you had the opportunity this week and he damages your game next week. That is all of your live feed updates for today, folks. I thoroughly hope you all enjoyed watching. I had an absolute blast recording today with the two vetoes in play. I mean, man, just the gameplay ramps up and there's so much to talk about, and it's kind of a crazy week when, you don't know who exactly the target is. I think it's been one of those seasons of Big Brother that we don't get very often, where every single week we go, head of household's really important this week. And it's, you don't just say it on one week, it's literally every week. You think, you're going to say it for the last week, but then you go through the other week, you go through that week, and then you go at the end of it, whoever wins head of household, it's going to be so important this week, because it really is, and it's anyone's game. And yes, even though the cookout is there as this big alliance that are probably going to, because they're not essentially, you know, being extremely dominant. It's kind of just, you know, they are a force to be reckoned with because they're doing what needs to be done, and they're getting it done really well, and they're on the DL, and nobody's realising what's going on. I did think at one point maybe Claire twig on, but, you know, that's looking like it's not happening. But anyway, they're getting done what needs to get done. But equally, you know, as we said, if someone like Derek X wins next week, he could take that shot at Xavier that he needs to, because Derek X has proven time and time again that he's not afraid to make big moves. But anyway, that's for another day to talk about when we eventually get around to that. But folks, thank you so much for watching. Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below of what you are thinking so far of this week. Has Carlin been a good head of household so far? Are you happy that Alyssa won a veto? Are you happy that Carlin won a veto? Who do you want the veto to be used on? Who do you want the target to be? And sent out the Big Brother door this week. And I said that very fast, and I'm very impressed that I remembered every single thing there, even though there was nothing to remember. I just thought it up on the spot. Folks, thank you so much for watching. I'll say as I always do, make sure you're staying safe, staying positive, and staying healthy out there, and be kind to one another. But in the meantime, please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. But until your next live feed update, I've been your host, Tom Vasey. Good night.